And let's start with Exodus 18:1, which is the first verse of our weekly portion. So, guys, yes, let's see. Don't be shy.
Okay, can I start, Netanel?
Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midian Kohen Moshe et Kol Asher Asa Elohim Limoshe. Ul Yisrael Amo Ki Hotzi Adonai et Yisrael Mi Mitzrayim. Now Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, how the Lord had brought out of Egypt, had brought Israel out of Egypt.
Right. Here we have a regular, standard biblical Hebrew structure of a verse in the narrative, opening with the Wayyiqtol verb Vayishma. Okay, Vayishma. Wayyiqtol, third person masculine singular, that's the regular narrative. And when we see the Wayyiqtol opening a sequence of events in the past, in the following verses, which we don't have here because this is only verse 1, then Vayikach Yitro, he's taking the wife of Moses and the two sons of Moses. Vayavo Yitro, and Jethro came. These are the regular structures of proceeding with a narrative, telling a story in the past. So Vayishma, we have the verb, followed by the subject. In this case, Yitro, Kohen Midian, Choten Moshe. Okay. How do we call these when we have more than one word or describing someone repeating itself or referring to the same person, but by different words, the same thing, the same person? How do we call this? So we have a morphological, syntactical...
redundancy.
Okay, redundancy. That is correct. This is also redundancy. But grammatically speaking, we have here what we call opposition. Okay? In grammar, that redundancy, which you've defined well, right? You know, you already have that. Okay? But we do it. I don't know. Is it Tony Abbott, the prime minister? No. Now you have Albanese, Antonio Albanese, whatever, the prime minister of Australia. So referring to him both by his name, Yitro, by his title, and by his relations to Moses, which are all the same person, is what we call opposition. Okay, opposition, which is redundancy, but in words. Okay, is identified. Jethro, Yitro is. Come again?
I think you've got opposition as well as opposition.
Right, yeah, but this is opposition, not opposition, right? So we have Yitro referred to by his own personal name. His that's his name. The rabbinic midrash says that he had 7 names. We find different names for Yitro, and the ultra-Orthodox joke about him having 7 names is related to him having 7 daughters. Yitro had 7 daughters, and in the ultra-Orthodox society, it used to be, and it might still is in parts of it, is when you get your daughter married, if you want to get a good Torah student, a good yeshiva bucher, you have to take care, you have to give your daughter, when they get married, an apartment. You have to give her, and if he is like the next rabbi of the champion rabbi of the world of Torah studying, you have to make sure they have 2 apartments, one where they can live, another one where they can rent it out and live from the rent that they rent out. So the story is he had 7 daughters, so he had to give at least 7 apartments. In order to have 7 apartments for his daughters, if he got Moses as a son-in-law, right, he got the others also. And so in order to get that done, he had to take 7 mortgages. But, failing on these mortgages, he had to change his name every time. So this is why he had 7 names. Okay, so that's the ultra-Orthodox joke about the rabbinic tradition of Yitro having 7 names, because he had 7 mortgages and he had to fool the bank every time. So that's Yitro. And as an opposition, we have Yitro identified by his titles, Choten Moshe and Kohen Midian, right? He is the priest of Midian, and he is also the father-in-law of Moses. These 2, okay, are also construct chains. They're oppositions in relations to Yitro, and in and of themselves, they're construct chains. We have 2 nouns, one next to each other, forming that genitive relationship of, right? So we have Midian and Moshe are both the proper nouns. Here we have Midian, a name of a people, and Moshe, a name of a person, which are definite in and of themselves. So the whole construct chain is a definite construct chain. The priest of Midian, the father-in-law of Moses, even though we don't have a definite article, just by the fact that they are constructed upon a proper noun. So Yitro, Kohen Midian, Choten Moshe. We do have that in modern English as well, right? We've given the example of the Prime Minister of Australia, right? Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, the founder of the Trump whatever, okay, decided so and so. So you have an opposition, okay? And here we have an opposition based on a construct chain, and specifically a definite construct chain. Everybody with me?
Yep.
Yes.
Very good. So we are using the verses of the weekly portion to review those grammatical structures. Et, okay, et, definite direct object marker. And since we're going through different verses, we get the prevalence of different grammatical phenomena according to how they appear in the text in the Torah. Et kol asher asa, very common to have asher following et asher, in this case et kol asher, and then the content of what he heard. Et kol asher asa Elohim leMoshe u'Yisrael amo. Again, the repetition of the preposition before different recipients of the verb. In this case, asa leMoshe u'Yisrael ki hotzi Adonai et Yisrael mimitzrayim. Okay, And we're skipping to verse 17 and 23. I assume everybody remembers that the reaction of Yitro. He is coming with a family and he is giving the advice to Moshe. And I just gave the positive and the negative, right? When he sees what happens with Moses, he says, this is not going to work. He gives him an advice and he says, if you are gonna do what I'm gonna say, what I'm suggesting, then you will be successful and it will benefit the people as well. So let's see verse 17, Frank.
Yes.
Unless you have a different question.
Nope. That's it.
Go ahead.
Vayomer Choten Moshe Elav Tov.
Lo tov. Lo tov.
I'm sorry, Lo Tov. Lo Tov. Hadavar Asher Ata Ose. And Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you are doing is Lo Tov.
Right. So you, following the English, in the English translation, put the lo tov at the end, but as you noted when you read the Hebrew, lo tov precedes this nominal clause. We have a negation of a nominal clause by using the phrase lo tov. Okay? This is hadavar asher ata oseh is a nominal clause. The thing you are doing. We don't have any verbs here. Okay? And it is lo tov is negating it, as we have very famously in Genesis. Lo tov heyot ha'adam levado. Okay? Lo tov hadavar asher ata oseh. So we have a factual negation of this nominal clause. Okay? And the verbless clause, the nominal clause, works differently. Okay? Here, hadavar is the subject of the sentence or clause, and the predication is good or not good. Okay, in this case, lo tov. Okay, it should be noted that sometimes nominal sentences are negated by the word in. Okay, here we have the use of the word lo. Okay, and a good example to compare it to lo tov hiyot ha'adam levado. The being of the man alone is not good. In both cases, we have the negation before that nominal clause. And again, here, as opposed to the opposition that we've seen with Yitro, Chohen Midian, Choten Moshe, we just have one. Choten Moshe elav. And again, Wayyiqtol, Wayyiqtol. In this case, this Wayyiqtol of the root Aleph Mem Resh is introducing a direct speech. Here, the second part of this verse is the quote of what the father-in-law of Moses said to him. And the root Aleph Mem Resh is an introduction to a direct speech. Okay, very good. Moving on to verse 23, guys. Jackie, yes, please. You have to unmute.
Okay. Im et hadavar hazeh ta'aseh וצוך אלוהים,
Let's try again.
וציוך,
V'tzivecha Elohim. We
Okay.
have the vav, as you can see here. It's not very big, but you can see it has a dot inside. That dot is not the dot of the shurek, because the tzaddik preceding it already has a vowel pointing. So this is a dagesh, simply a dagesh in the vav. So v'tzivecha.
okay, וציווך
Very good.
אלוהים, ויכלת,
V'yacholta.
יכולת,
Right, we have a kamatz katan. A kamatz in a closed unaccented syllable. Here, the accent is here, so this is a closed unaccented syllable. This kamatz is a kamatz katan pronounced as an O vowel. Right, go ahead.
okay, עמוד, וגם כל העם הזה על מקומו יבוא בו שלום. If you do this thing and God so commands you, then you will be able to endure, and all these people also will go to their place in peace.
Right. Very good. So what do we have here? We have syntactically, first of all, so he gives him an advice. We've talked about the context, the advice of establishing a system by which the people are going to run their affairs or their legal affairs. And Jethro is adding here the consequences, okay, of accepting this advice. So we have an advice followed by a conditional sentence, right? We have a conditional sentence about future consequences of accepting that advice. What are the two parts of a conditional sentence, guys? English, Spanish, Turkish, Hebrew. What are the two parts of any conditional sentence?
Go to their place is one part, and go to the place in peace. One piece is the other part.
You were saying, Gary, but no, I'm asking like to refine the two parts of any conditional sentence.
You have an if and then the consequence.
Yeah, you could have said that you were if and then. You could have settled, you said if and then the consequences. Simply if and then, right? Right. If and then. Okay. And you correctly said a condition and a consequence. But in case you want to sound smarter than the other guy in the conversation, you're gonna say we have a protasis and an apodosis. Okay, but you don't you can simply say if and then, right? We have a condition and a consequence. Fancy words for it, protasis and apodosis. And here we have the protasis, we have the if. The conditional starts with im. אם את הדבר הזה תעשה, if you're going to do this thing, remember, הדבר אשר אתה עושה, we had it in verse 17, אם את הדבר הזה תעשה, so the previous one, the negation clause about the thing you are currently doing, but if you're going to do what I have said between verses 17 and 23, then ותציבך אלוהים ויכול תעמוד וגם כל העם הזה על מקומו יבוא בשלום. Okay? So the if clause starts with, surprise, surprise, the biblical Hebrew word for if, im, that's not the only word for if. Next week, we're going to talk about a different word for if, the word ki. And by the way, guys, next week, I'm going to touch a very touchy subject, slavery in the Bible. Okay? So, and I've seen it made as a point by various people who are very anti-Bible. One of the points they jump to make is, oh, but the Bible supports slavery, guys. Have you ever heard someone, going after the Bible because of slavery?
Yes.
So it's not just me.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So next week we're gonna address that. Okay. And we'll see based on the crowd, but if we have people who are not usual comers, we might kind of take the level of the grammar a little bit down, and so we can talk about the content, but we'll see based on who's going to come. Based on what I gathered on the emails, I don't know how far I'm reaching because of the issue with the emails. So we've talked about the if clause, we've talked about the condition, establishes a condition for the future outcomes of this. Elohim v'yachol ta'amod. Okay, God, then if God commands you, you will be able to deliver. Okay, v'yachol ta'amod. You'll be able to stand. Remember that when he talks about the problem, he sees the whole people are standing over Moses from morning to evening. Okay, so we have the use of amod here corresponding with a problem. They are standing over you. You will be able to stand. You will be able to fulfill the mission. Okay. V'gam kol ha'am hazeh. And also another positive outcome, another consequence of doing this thing, and also all of this people, al mekomo yavo v'shalom, will be able to literally go to their place in peace, contextually succeed. You will be able to succeed. Yes, Frank.
Does this imply that the people's shalom is dependent on Moshe's shalom?
I think it certainly puts them together and implies by putting them one after the other. It is not explicitly mentioned, but yes, I would say yes, because then they would have they would be able to fulfill what God commanded. Okay, because now God is telling Moses, and Moses is the only one who is channeling God's words to the people. And what Yitro is suggesting is to establish a system. Okay, and that system would enable the word of God as well as the survival of Moses and the prosperity of the people to work together. Okay?
Mhm.
Very good.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Moving on.